Hi guys, this is Professor Gaines, and in this video, in part 2 of deciphering the lab manual for the recrystallization experiment, we are going to go through how we go from the procedure proper to making a concise pre-lab write-up. The main tool that we are going to be using to write a pre-lab write-up will be this overview that was actually given to us in the lab manual in the background information section. And we are going to be doing the melting point as a separate experiment, so we actually don't need that for this video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the first 5 headings, and I'm going to copy them somewhere else on this document for us to begin making an outline. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at each one of these 5 headings and match it to the part in the procedure. So for this first one, choosing a solvent for recrystallization goes with section 1 for selection of the proper amount of solvent or solvent mixture. What we're going to do now is that we are going to look at the procedure and look for the clear-cut directions in the procedure. The procedure is full of background information as well as advice in case you find yourself getting stuck, but they aren't what we need in our pre-lab write-up. So what we're going to do is we're going to go one by one through each sentence and find the directions and then put them into an outline so we can then make them into a bullet point format. Here I am highlighting the first sentence as an example. This is an example of something that is in the procedure but isn't a direction. You don't need to put this in there. This is background information. However, this next sentence that I'm highlighting is a very clear direction. Weigh 0.1 gram of compound into a test tube and add 2 milliliters of water from a graduated cylinder. We can take this, we can copy it, and then we can put it up into our outline. Now all we have to do is turn this set of directions into a bullet point format. So for the first one, you can put weigh out 0.1 gram of compound into a test tube, and for the second bullet point you can say add 2 milliliters of water to the test tube. Now we are going to look for and highlight our second direction, which is use a hot water bath, heat to about 70 degrees, and then cool in ice water to see if crystals form. So just like the first direction, we're going to copy this and then insert it into the outline that we have. The bullet points to write for these ones are fairly simple. Heat test tube in the hot water bath for the first bullet point, and for the second one you can just write place in ice bath or cool in ice bath. I'm also putting notes here for observations. So in your observation section, there are certain things that you have to write down, and you can go ahead and just put it in so you have to fill it out. So you need to know if the crystals dissolved in the hot water and if they reappeared in the cold water. So you can go ahead and put a section for that in the observation section. So now, again, we are looking for our next direction. The part that's highlighted here, it's information, but it's background information, so it's not our next direction. Here's another section to look out for. Even though it says 0.1 grams and 2 milliliters of water, if you look closely at it, it's not a direction, it's a suggestion. So we actually have to wait until the next sentence. Try combining 1 milliliter of ethanol with 1 milliliter of water, and that is actually our next direction. In order to keep this video short, I've sped up this part, but all I'm doing is taking the next instruction and I'm putting it into a bullet point format. I am also making sure to write down how I want to record my observations so that I can already have it set. I'm speeding up this section of the video just to make it a bit shorter. What I'm doing here is I'm just taking the last few instructions and I'm putting them in. The tricky thing about this experiment is there's a lot of if this, then that. And so in your notebook for sure you should have the write-up for the water solubility test for the 1-to-1 water ethanol, and then write the procedure for one more and the observations for one more. But depending on what compound you get, you might have to do more or less. So I would recommend leaving all of this on one page and leaving some room just in case you need it. Here's some more sections that I sped up. All I'm doing is I am copying the bullet points that I made in our outline, and I'm putting them into a format that is similar to what it might look like in your notebook. I'm putting the procedure on the left, and then I am placing the observations on the right. Most of this is sped up because I spent a lot of time formatting and correcting spelling mistakes, but you can still get the gist of it here. So this is what your final procedure should look more like for this part of the recrystallization experiment. This one is a little bit tedious because there's a lot of if, this, then that, but in part 3 of this video we'll go through the other sections and they are much more straightforward.